The 2018 Hyundai Ioniq plug-in hybrid was fully charged, and Eco mode was selected. Pulling out onto a busy boulevard, we suppressed the urge to floor the accelerator, instead dipping maybe halfway into the pedals travel. And the engine fired up. Clearly, Hyundai's dedicated Eco Warrior doesn't behave like the Chevrolet Volt and the Toyota Prius Prime, which flaunt their capability to drive without tailpipe emissions, keeping their gasoline engines shut off as much as possible. It was an unexpected first impression. This observation underscores that plug-in hybrids aren't all built to the same formula. They're amalgams, products of a diet rich in California's EV credit steroids and engineered for regulatory compliance. While the Volt and the Prius Prime let you lock in electric mode for a distance that's within daily commuting range for many Americans, the Ioniq plug-in hybrid's powertrain operates more like that of Ford's Fusion Energy and C-Max Energy, the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid, and the Hyundai Sonata plug-in hybrid. The gasoline engine definitely fires up less often than in a standard hybrid, but the boundaries are blurred. For the Ioniq, Hyundai says it depends on torque demands, load, and vehicle speed and even the rate at which you depress the accelerator. Provided you're okay with that concept, this is a very pleasant driving car that applies the charge you put in the battery toward getting as many miles as possible out of what is in the fuel tank. Just as in the Hyundai Ioniq hybrid, the plug-in has a 104 HP 1.6-liter Atkinson cycle inline-4 that claims 40% thermal efficiency. There's a lightweight, low-friction 6-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox, with an electric motor affixed to the transmission's input and a computer-controlled clutch bringing the engine into or out of the mix. What's different is that in place of the hybrid's 1.6 kWh battery pack, the PHEV has a larger 8.9 kWh version that can be fully charged in just 2.5 hours with level 2, 240-volt, hardware, enabling what Hyundai anticipates to be 27 miles of all-electric range. Keeping a light foot on the throttle, we saw long stretches of 70 mph cruising using only battery power. A 60 HP electric motor replaces the hybrid's 43 HP unit to enable that wider band of electric operation. The powertrain far outdoes most other hybrids for charm, in part because as you accelerate and the engine joins in you hear good, life-affirming zoomy sounds of revs rising and gears changing. Although there's an undercurrent of efficiency machinations happening behind the scenes, the plug-in hybrid drives like a non-hybrid car when the engine is running. It also skips the interface silliness. The gauge cluster is one of the most straightforward you'll find in a hybrid, and there are just a couple of driving mode choices. If you want to save some battery charge for later, there's an HEV mode that runs the gasoline engine a lot more as though the charge were depleted. Other than that, pulling the shift lever over to the left engages Sport mode, which weights up the steering, gives you a tachometer in the cluster, and runs the gasoline engine more, if not quite all the time. Hyundai notes, however, that the steering, ride, and hybrid system calibrations we experienced could change by the time this model goes on sale this fall. The one thing Hyundai's first Sonata plug-in hybrid had that this model doesn't is a charge restoring mode that uses the gasoline engine to recharge the plug-in portion of the battery, albeit while using a great deal more fuel. Such modes rarely make sense from an efficiency standpoint, and according to Mike O'Brien, Hyundai's U.S. Vice President of Corporate and Product Planning, the automaker found that very few people were using that mode or perhaps even knew it existed, so Hyundai opted to skip it here. Thankfully, Hyundai also adopted a less is more philosophy with regard to the exterior styling, in stark contrast to the Prius's Mr. Roboto sheet metal. The Ioniq reaps the aerodynamic advantages of the familiar teardrop, compact profile common to all the efficiency champs, and while it manages an impressive 0.24 coefficient of drag, aided by grille shutters and underbody aero smoothing, it couldn't look more different from the Prius. The Ioniq plug-in hybrid benefits from being built on a dedicated eco-vehicle platform, with an aluminum hood, liftgate, and suspension components plus packaging that keeps seating and cargo space for the most part, from being compromised in order to fit both a battery pack and an 11.4-gallon fuel tank. Inside the Ioniq plug-in, the impression is one of benign normalcy. One could just as easily be in an Elantra. The front seats are a little short, and rear headroom can feel scarce for taller folks, but Hyundai has pulled off normal backseat accommodations without either the Prius Prime's repositioned two-passenger rear seating or the Volt's tight middle position. Like the Ioniq Electric, the plug-in likely will come with standard heated seats and, through Blue Link telematics, the capability for climate preconditioning, items that can lessen dependence on the traditional climate control system, thereby increasing range. As with many green cars, the buyer of the Ioniq plug-in will want to make sure the car's reality is in alignment with their expectations. Those who want a plug-in to act like a fully electric car at least for short distances probably should look instead at the Volt or the Prius Prime. But if you're into the idea of plugging in regularly merely to put a major dent in your fuel budget, this PHEV works wonders without weirdness.